Ever wonder how wild US presidential elections can get? From the corrupt bargain of 1824 to the hanging chads of 2000, we're diving into the craziest, most controversial elections that shaped America. Join Mr. Beat as we unpack the chaos, drama, and shady deals that decided presidents. Which election do you think was the wildest? Drop it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more history deep dives. Alright, let's dive into the wildest, most chaotic presidential elections in US history. Mr. Beat's style full of energy, quirky facts, and storytelling that makes you feel like you're right there in the middle of the drama. Picture this. Elections so bizarre they make modern politics look tame. From backroom deals to punch card ballots, gone wrong. We're about to unpack 3 elections that left Americans scratching their heads and history books bursting with controversy. I'm Mr. Beat, and today we're exploring the most bizarre presidential elections ever. 1824, 1876, and 2000. Buckle up, because this is gonna get nuts. If you love history as much as I do, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss more deep dives like this one. Let's go. Imagine it's 1824, and the United States is still a young nation, trying to figure out this whole democracy thing. The Federalist Party is basically extinct, and the Democratic-Republican Party is fracturing. For guys John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Henry Clay, and William Crawford are all running for president. And it's a total freak. Back then, the Electoral College worked a bit differently. If no candidate got a majority of electoral votes, the House of Representatives would pick the winner from the top 3 candidates. Sounds simple, right? Oh, just wait. This election is about to become a masterclass in political shenanigans. Andrew Jackson, the war hero from Tennessee, is a rock star to the common man. He's all about shaking up the elite, and people love him for it. John Quincy Adams, son of a former president, is the brainy diplomat with a knack for policy, but zero charisma. Henry Clay, the smooth-talking Speaker of the House, has big dreams of uniting the nation with his American system. And William Crawford, he's the Treasury Secretary with solid credentials, but a stroke leaves him struggling to campaign. The vote splits like crazy. Jackson wins 99 electoral votes, Adams gets 84, Crawford snags 41, and Clay trails with 37. Here's the kicker, nobody gets the 131 votes needed to win outright. So, off to the House it goes. Now, here's where things get juicy. Henry Clay, who didn't make the top 3, is out of the running, but as Speaker of the House, he's got serious influence. Rumor has it, Clay meets with Adams in a secret, smoky room deal. Nobody knows exactly what went down, but when the House votes, Clay throws his support to Adams. Boom, John Quincy Adams becomes the 6th president of the United States, even though Jackson won the popular vote and the most electoral votes. To add insult to injury, Adams names Clay his Secretary of State, a position seen as a stepping stone to the presidency. Jackson is livid. He calls it a corrupt bargain, accusing Adams and Clay of stealing the election. Picture Jackson pacing around his Tennessee plantation, muttering about betrayal while his supporters rally behind him. Was it really corrupt? Historians still debate it. There's no hard proof of a deal, but the optics were terrible. Adams' presidency was doomed from the start. Nobody trusted him. Jackson used the outrage to fuel his 1828 campaign, where he crushed Adams in a landslide. The 1824 election wasn't just bizarre, it changed how Americans saw their democracy. It made people question whether the system was rigged for the elites, and it set the stage for Jackson's populist revolution. Oh, and a fun fact to lighten the mood, did you know John Quincy Adams liked to skinny dip in the Potomac River? Yeah, the guy who won a shady election was out there swimming in his birthday suit. Gotta love history. Fast forward to 1876, and the US is in a totally different mess. The Civil War ended a decade ago, and the country's still stitching itself back together. Reconstruction is in full swing, with federal troops in the South protecting newly freed African Americans' rights. But tensions are high. White Southerners resent Reconstruction, and the nation's exhausted. Enter the presidential election. Rutherford B. Hayes, a Republican from Ohio, versus Samuel Tilden, a Democrat from New York. This one's gonna make 1824 look like a walk in the park. Tilden's a reform-minded governor who's all about cleaning up corruption. Hayes is a solid, if unflashy, guy with a knack for staying calm under pressure. The campaign is intense, with both sides slinging mud. When the votes are counted, Tilden wins the popular vote by about 250,000, pretty decisive, right? He also racks up 184 electoral votes, just one shy of the 185 needed to win. Hayes has 165, but here's the problem. 20 electoral votes from 3 southern states, Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina, are in dispute. Why? Because both sides claim they won those states, and there's evidence of fraud, intimidation, and straight-up chaos. In Florida, for example, black voters were threatened to keep them from the polls. In Louisiana, ballots were mysteriously lost. Both parties submit competing sets of electoral votes to Congress, and nobody knows which ones count. Congress is stuck. To solve it, they create a special 15-member commission. 5 senators, 5 representatives, and 5 Supreme Court judges. Sounds fair, except it's stacked 8 Republicans, 7 Democrats. Guess what? Every single disputed vote goes to Hayes, 8-7. Hayes wins the presidency by 1 electoral vote, 185 to 184. Tilden supporters are outraged, calling it a stolen election. But wait, there's more. To avoid a full-blown crisis, some Democrats were even talking about restarting the Civil War. Publicans make a deal. They agree to pull federal troops out of the South, effectively ending Reconstruction. This becomes known as the Compromise of 1877. Hayes gets the White House, but at a massive cost. Without federal protection, African Americans in the South face a surge in violence and discrimination. Jim Crow laws start creeping in, and the civil rights gains of Reconstruction unravel. It's a gut-punch moment in history. Picture the scene. Southern Democrats celebrating their regained control, while black communities brace for what's coming. Hayes, to his credit, tried to push for some reforms, but his hands were tied. And here's a quirky tidbit to keep things Mr. Beat style. Hayes' wife, Lucy, was nicknamed Lemonade Lucy because she banned alcohol in the White House. So, while the nation was reeling from this chaotic election, the White House was serving lemonade at state dinners. Gotta love those random history nuggets. This election wasn't just bizarre, it was a turning point. The end of Reconstruction reshaped the South for generations, and the shady commission left a stain on American politics. People started wondering, can we trust the system to get it right? It's a question that echoes even today, and it brings us to our final bizarre election. One you might remember if you were around in 2000. Let's set the stage for the 2000 election. George W. Bush, the Texas governor with a folksy charm, is running against Al Gore, the vice president, under Bill Clinton. The economy's doing great, the Cold War's over, and America's feeling pretty confident. But this election is about to become a nail-biter that keeps the country glued to their TVs for weeks. It all comes down to one state, Florida. And trust me, it's a wild ride. The vote is insanely close. On election night, November 7th, 2000, news networks call Florida for Gore, then retract it, then call it for Bush, then retract that. By morning, it's clear. Florida's 25 electoral votes will decide the presidency. Without Florida, neither candidate has the 270 electoral votes needed to win. Bush is ahead by just a few hundred votes out of nearly 6 million cast in the state. Gore's team demands a recount, and that's when things get really weird. Florida is using punch card ballots, where voters poke out little pieces of paper called chads to mark their choice. Problem is, some chads don't fully detach their hanging, dimpled, or pregnant. Recounts start, and people are literally holding ballots up to the light, trying to figure out voter intent. It's chaos. Imagine election workers squinting at tiny paper scraps, while the whole country watches. And then there's the butterfly ballot in Palm Beach County, a confusing design that leads thousands of voters, mostly Gore supporters, to accidentally vote for third-party candidate Pat Buchanan. Buchanan himself admitted, "There's no way I got that many votes by design." The recount battle gets ugly fast. Bush's team, led by James Baker, wants to stop the recounts. Gore's team, led by Warren Christopher, pushes for more time. Protests erupt outside counting centers, with crowds chanting, "Stop the steal." Sound familiar? The Florida Supreme Court orders a statewide recount, but Bush's team takes it to the U.S. Supreme Court. In a 5-4 decision, the court stops the recount on December 12, 2000, citing equal protection concerns. Bush wins Florida by 537 votes, 537, and takes the presidency with 271 electoral votes, to Gore's 266. And here's the kicker. Gore won the national popular vote by over. The fallout. Americans start questioning the Electoral College like never before. Why should a candidate who wins the popular vote lose the presidency? The Supreme Court's decision also sparks debates about judicial overreach and those hanging chads. They become a punchline, but they also lead to voting reforms, like switching to electronic machines. Fun fact, during the recount, TV networks showed so much footage of election workers inspecting ballots that hanging chad became a cultural meme. Saturday Night Live had a field day with it. Picture the nation during those 36 days of uncertainty. Families arguing over dinner, pundits shouting on cable news, and Florida turning into the ultimate political drama. It was like the Super Bowl, but for democracy. And the stakes couldn't have been higher. Bush's presidency led to decisions like the Iraq War, while Gore Mutov focused on climate change. His signature issue, we'll never know what could have been. So, what are these elections? 1876 and 2000 have in common. They're all moments when the system was pushed to its limits, exposing flaws and fueling distrust. The corrupt bargain of 1824 showed how backroom deals could undermine the popular will. The Compromise of 1876 traded a presidency for the end of Reconstruction, with devastating consequences. And 2000's hanging chads proved that even a single vote or a single chad could change history. These elections remind us that democracy is messy, fragile, and sometimes just plain weird, but they also teach us something else. The system, for all its flaws, keeps chugging along. Each of these elections sparked reforms, better voting laws, clearer ballots, or louder calls to rethink the Electoral College. They're a testament to why we keep showing up to vote, even when it feels like chaos. So, what's the most bizarre election of the bunch? Is it 1824's shady deal? 1876's stolen votes? Or 2000's? Chat, drop your pick in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Before we wrap up, let's connect this to today. Elections are still lightning rods for controversy, whether it's debates over mail-in ballots or voter ID laws. The lessons of 1824, 1876, and 2000 remind us to stay vigilant about how our votes are counted. Democracy's not perfect, but it's ours to protect. If you loved this deep dive, check out my other videos for more history craziness. Next time, we're tackling the weirdest laws in US history. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. I'm Mr. Beat, and I'll see you in the next one.